Hello, I'm going to do a speech on the homeless people. The homeless people are everywhere. They're under the bridge, they're under bridges, they're at bus stops, they're on benches in the park. Um, they're just everywhere. Today, more than 3.5 million people experience homelessness each year. Um, 35% of the homeless population are families with children. 23% are the U.S. military veterans. 25% are children under the age of 18 years old. 30% experience domestic violence, and 20 to 25% experience mental illness or drug addiction. Homeless Primarily, homelessness is an economic problem that affects a number of social and political factors. The number of people experiencing homelessness exploded in the 1980s when federal funds was withdrawn, and the low-income housing and social assistance for low-income and mentally ill was almost cut out. Currently, federal spendings on housing target more than 50%, and that was in 1976 federal levels. Why are people homeless? A majority of the time, people are homeless because of housing and poverty. The lack of affordable housing is contribute to homelessness. The National Low Income Housing Coalition estimated that in 2013, housing wages was exceeded the minimum wage, the minimum average hourly wage a person earned in by the average renter. It greatly exceeds that. Poverty is homelessness, and the poverty is an extensionally linked. Poor people, frankly, are unable to pay for housing, food, child care, health care, and education. Difficult choices have to be made, and some of these are the necessities. Often, housing, which absorbs most of a person's income, that's when it absorbs most of the income, and it must be dropped. If you are poor, you are essentially, if you are poor and an illness or a accident or loss of wages, then you're on the streets. In 2011, poverty rate was at 15%. That means that there are 46.2 million people in poverty. The two factors that are accounts for increasing poverty is the lack of job opportunities, the lack if you can find a job, you don't have the education to get this job. Those are some of the things. That is one of the things. If you find a job, if you don't have the money, the education, you just won't. You won't get the job, and you won't get to advance in the places that you need to do. Decline in public assistance. That is another major thing. With the government being like it is this day and time, we all, see a lot of cutbacks, and cutbacks are in public assistance. That a lot of that has changed, and I feel that it's mostly going to change even more. the way the way the society is. Um, some other major factors are health care, domestic violence, mental illness, addiction. These are all some factors that contribute to homelessness. Um, the um, the types of homeless people, they're chronic homelessness, transitional homelessness, and episodic homelessness. Um, these people, the chronic people are the stereotypes. They're like Skid Row homeless, who are more unlikely to entrench in the shelter system. They'd rather live on the streets. They're hardcore. They don't really think they need a job. And they don't want to find a job. They just want to get out and go and just walk the streets and get handouts from people. Traditional people are another homeless type. We all have some type of experience with homelessness. Um, you know, Family illnesses. There's a lot of people that lack of affordable housing, extreme poverty, you know, government assistance. That stopped a lot, and that's a lot of people that are homeless. They think that they gotta have assistance with those things when they could probably get out and try to find a job, even if it's just working at McDonald's or something like that. But I understand those things are getting harder as well, because even if you get a labor job, a lot of times they want you to have experience. Well, there's a lot of people in the world that don't have experience at working. The homeless people, there's a lot of them in the world, and we just got to continue to strive to see if we can help these people. To see if we can sort of help them get out and want to get a job. There's members of the NCH that that were on the streets are now they've now earned degrees. They've now done more things with being a homeless person than they ever thought they could be. I'll give you for instance. The person that I'm thinking about, her name is Penny Callahan. She was born and raised in the D.C. area. She fled her home from Springfield, Virginia, when she was 13 years old and a victim of abuse. The court system took custody of Penny and that following year and placed her in an all-girls home in Maryland. 2 years later, at the age of 16, she became pregnant, and the mother and mother made her withdraw from school. After years bouts of domestic violence, Penny lost her children to foster care. But she came back. She lost her children to foster children and became homeless in 1990 at the age of 29 years old. She drifted between couch surfing and shelters but found to be the needed period of growth. A friend suggested that she go to AA meetings where she could be safe and get off the streets. That's when she discovered there was no longer that was no longer the only experience of abuse, domestic violence for lost children, and foster care. She was a member. She was homeless for 10 years. And many of her experiences and the people that she met were blessings in disguise and guardian angels to her. She earned her GED in 1992, and she found that she had experienced this experience with the shelter system and being blessing in disguise. She found permanent housing through the DC public housing, and in 2000 in 2000 she earned an associate's degree from Potomac College in 2007. Today she is 6 years breast cancer free, united with her children, working as an advocate for those who experience both domestic violence and homelessness. She began working with the National Coalition for Homeless Children in 2010, and she enjoys being directly indirectly by educating young people and telling them her story.